On my wedding day, I caught my fiance and my younger sister Rachel doing the dirty in a private lounge. I instantly became the laughingstock of the event, until my childhood friend, Jason Law, publicly proposed to me, defending my honor. We got married shortly after. Jason was the perfect husband, kind, responsible, devoted, except in bed. It always felt like his heart wasn't in it. We only conceived through IVF this year. Afterward, he became even more protective. I truly believed he was my sanctuary. Until I overheard him talking to his friend. Greater than you're ruthless, Jason. Nina's been nothing but good to you. How could you swap her egg with Rachel's just because Rachel doesn't want to go through childbirth? Jason sighed. I'll give Rachel the baby once it's born. It's her dream. As for Nina, I'll tell her the baby died. I'll make it up to her by staying with her for life. That was the moment everything broke. He only protected me for her sake. I turned around and immediately booked a surgical appointment. I wasn't going to carry this lie any longer. Greater than, aren't you worried Nina will find out? She trusts me, Jason said. She won't suspect a thing. I stood outside the door, shaking, nails digging into my palms. I had only come to bring him a jacket, worried he might be cold. Instead, I found betrayal deeper than I could have imagined. My heart felt sliced open. I stumbled home, too numb to turn on the lights. I collapsed on the couch, shivering and sick, tears falling silently. Then I heard the door open. Jason walked in, voice soft and worried. Greater than, why didn't you turn on the lights? Are you feeling unwell again? He touched my hair gently. Greater than, if you don't eat, it'll be bad for the baby. I stared into his concerned eyes. So love could be entirely an act. 4 years ago, my parents forced me to give up my fiancé for Rachel's sake, claiming family comes first. They told everyone Rachel was the bride. Jason had stepped up and proposed to me publicly. I thought he was my savior. I stood by him, supported him in silence, used my skills to help him grow his startup into a leading investment firm. When we tried IVF this year, it felt like the final piece. He hugged me, saying this baby was what he'd always wanted. It was all a lie. But I could act too. Greater than, I'm fine, I said, forcing a tired smile. Just a little exhausted. He relaxed, gently urging me to sleep early. I played along, for now. The next morning, we went to a prenatal checkup. Jason was attentive, asking the doctor every question possible. Greater than, you've got a great husband, the doctor smiled. Not many men are this involved. As we left, we ran into Rachel. She was wearing a loose dress. Her smug expression told me everything she was showing. Greater than, when are you due, Nina? She asked, reaching for my belly. I smacked her hand away. Greater than, what was that for? She snapped. I clutched my stomach. Greater than, it hurts, I murmured. Rachel froze. Jason immediately turned to me, concern in his voice, but his eyes were on Rachel. Greater than, do you want to go home and rest? He asked, glancing at her. Greater than, I'll go to the restroom, I replied, brushing him off. He tried to follow, but I insisted. The moment I shut the door, I watched him rush off. To comfort Rachel, I followed. Greater than, did you fall for her or something? Rachel pouted. She was so rude and you didn't defend me. Greater than, I did it for the baby, Jason muttered, pulling out a jewelry box. Here's the bracelet you wanted. Rachel's face lit up. She even bragged about the stock tips he gave her, stock tips I had researched. I turned away, disgusted. I called the hospital. Greater than, hi, just confirming my appointment tomorrow. When I walked back, Jason asked, Greater than, where are you going tomorrow? Greater than, pregnancy photo shoot, I lied. Let's take some family pictures. He hesitated. Greater than, I have a meeting. Greater than, it's fine, I said sweetly. I can go alone. Relieved, he smiled. Greater than, what would I do without a wife like you? On surgery day, he gave me a bracelet before leaving. Greater than, this is for you, he said, gently. It was the free gift from the one he gave Rachel. I clenched my fist, but smiled. Greater than, thanks. I love it. Before going to the hospital, I stopped by my parents' house. I never went inside. I heard them talking. Greater than, just be patient, my mother told Rachel. We gave you her fiancé, didn't we? Greater than, don't let the in-laws find out how you're getting the baby, my father warned. Jason could be in trouble. Greater than, I brought the checkup records, Jason said calmly. Everything's fine. Once the baby's born, Rachel can have it. I'll do anything for her. My body went cold. So they all knew. This was their plan from the start. I was just a pawn. Jason opened the door to take tea from the butler. He spotted the broken bracelet, mine, on the floor. He froze. Then panicked. He called me over and over. Greater than Nina? Where are you? I can explain. A nurse answered in the background. Greater than Miss Gordon, please sign before the surgery. Greater than surgery? Jason screamed. I hung up and powered down my phone. As I lay on the hospital bed, my best friend Anna finalized the arrangements. Greater than everything's in place, she said. Greater than good, I nodded. The doctor entered. Greater than we'll have to induce labor. Are you sure? Greater than yes, I said without hesitation. Greater than do you have family with you? Greater than they're dead. Later, as I awoke, Anna hovered nearby. Greater than Jason's calling nonstop. I gave him a fake address. I touched my now flat stomach. Anna asked softly. Greater than do you regret it? I didn't respond. I just clenched my fists. Greater than never. I handed her the divorce papers. Greater than send them today. Greater than and the stocks? Anna asked. Greater than transfer the funds back, I replied calmly. Then I added, don't let them know. I'll make them pay, slowly. The next day, Jason burst into my hospital room, pale and frantic. Greater than Nina, how could you do this? You misunderstood, I can explain. I stared at him coldly. I didn't sleep that night. Jason lay beside me, his arm loosely draped around my waist, breathing soft and even, as though nothing in his perfect little world had shifted. But mine had crumbled. I stared at the ceiling in the darkness, feeling the warmth of the child I was carrying, a child who had become a bargaining chip in someone else's fantasy. At dawn, I slipped out of bed silently, clutching my phone and heading to the balcony. I booked the earliest appointment available at the private clinic. My voice was steady. My heart wasn't. When I returned, Jason was already dressed for work, coffee in hand. He gave me his usual kiss on the forehead. Morning, love. You looked restless last night. Bad dreams? I smiled faintly. Something like that. He squeezed my hand gently. We're almost there. Just 2 more months. 2 more months before he hands my child to my sister like a gift. 2 more months before he kills me with a lie. I nodded. I'm going to visit Anna today. Good. You could use the company. He left like he always did, briefcase in hand, car keys jingling. The moment the front door shut, I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. Anna welcomed me with open arms and a hug that lingered longer than usual. You sure about this? She asked as she handed me tea. I nodded. I'm done being everyone's fool. Anna didn't try to stop me. She only said, then I'm with you. All the way. At noon, I went to the clinic for final tests. The doctor's eyes were kind but wary. You don't have to do this, Miss Gordon, he said after reading my chart again. You're healthy, the baby is healthy. Is this a medical emergency? I met his gaze. No. It's a survival emergency. He didn't press. Just handed me forms and a pen. I signed every page without flinching. Each stroke felt like a burial, for the child, for the lies, for the version of myself who once believed in Jason Law. That night, I pretended everything was normal. Jason made pasta. He set the table. He told me about the market and the deal he closed that day. I nodded and smiled and asked polite questions, but in my head, I was counting down hours. Tomorrow, the mask would drop. In bed, Jason turned to me. You're glowing lately, he whispered, running a hand down my belly. Maybe it's peace, I replied. He chuckled. Whatever it is, I like it. He fell asleep quickly. I didn't. My fingers curled around the hospital consent form I'd hidden in my drawer. It was crumpled, but intact, like me. The next morning, I dressed carefully. A soft sweater. Comfortable shoes. No makeup. I didn't want to look like a woman going to war. I wanted to look like any other expectant mother heading to a checkup. Jason walked me out. You sure you don't want me to come? He asked, smiling. You've got meetings. He kissed me goodbye. And just like that, I left to end everything. At the clinic, Anna was already waiting. She handed over a folder filled with all the documentation I'd need for after, divorce, asset tracking, legal protection. We'd been planning this for weeks without Jason suspecting a thing. You're not alone in this, she reminded me gently. I nodded, my eyes stinging. I know. In the waiting room, I placed a hand on my stomach. I'd whispered to the baby the night before. I told them I was sorry. That this was the only way I could protect them from being born into a lie. Then the nurse called my name. As I lay on the hospital bed, hooked up to monitors, I heard my phone buzzing furiously in Anna's purse. Anna took a quick glance. Jason. He's called 12 times. I closed my eyes. Don't answer. Anna squeezed my hand. It's almost time. And it was. Time to wake up. Time to let go. Time to destroy the fantasy before it destroyed me. I turned my head as the nurse approached. Let's begin. The anesthetic left a bitter taste on my tongue. As my vision blurred and the ceiling lights above me flickered, the last thing I felt was Anna's hand in mine. Her grip steady, her gaze unshaken. Then, nothing. When I opened my eyes, the world was quiet. The white hospital ceiling stared back at me like a blank page. For a second, I didn't remember why I was there. But then I reached down, instinctively. The soft curve of my belly was gone. My breath caught. It was done. Hey, Anna's voice came from beside me, low and gentle. You're awake. I turned my head slowly. Her eyes were puffy, but her smile was strong. She didn't say anything else. She didn't need to. Was it? I asked. She nodded, clean, safe. They made sure. I swallowed hard and nodded. A strange stillness settled over me, an emptiness, but not sorrow. Not regret. It was like stepping out of a burning house. The loss, yes, but also relief. Anna helped me sit up. Jason found out. He's been calling non-stop. I gave him the wrong address. He's probably tearing up half the city by now. I stared at my hands. Let him. He's chasing a ghost. A soft knock interrupted the silence. A nurse peeked in. Miss Gordon? There's a man downstairs demanding to see you. We've called security. I took a breath. Tell them I don't know him. She nodded and left. Anna raised an eyebrow. You sure? Dead sure. But Jason didn't give up. Over the next hour, he called from 6 different numbers, sent emails, voice notes, even messages through mutual friends. His panic leaked through every word. Nina, please. Let me explain. Where are you? I need to see you. You don't understand. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I deleted everyone without opening them. Anna brought me home late that evening. I walked through my apartment like I was entering it for the first time. Everything looked the same, but nothing felt familiar. Jason's coat still hung by the door. His cologne lingered faintly in the air. Our wedding photo sat on the mantel like a joke. I'll stay the night, Anna offered. No. I need the silence. She hesitated. Call me if you need anything. I will. She left. I locked the door behind her and walked straight to the bedroom. I took down every photo of us. Every memory he could weaponize against me. I threw them into a box, sealed it shut, and shoved it into the closet. My phone rang again. Jason. I turned it off. That night, I sat at the vanity in silence. The moonlight cast pale shadows across my face. I stared at my reflection and whispered. You survived. The next morning, I sent the divorce papers through my lawyer. He assured me they'd be delivered by hand. At noon, Jason showed up at my office building. Security turned him away. He stood outside for nearly 2 hours before leaving. I watched from the 3rd floor, hidden behind tinted glass. Later that evening, I got a message from my mother. You've embarrassed us. Jason is heartbroken. Rachel is devastated. How could you do this to your family? Family. I laughed, cold, hollow. That word didn't mean anything to me anymore. I sent back a single line. Consider me dead. That weekend, Anna and I met with an accountant. We split all the assets cleanly. Every investment I'd made under Jason's name, every stock I'd boosted, was accounted for. He would keep the business. I'd take the capital. He could have the kingdom. I was walking away with the gold. And Rachel? Let her carry her pregnancy in silence. Let her explain why Jason wouldn't marry her after all. Because that part he hadn't told anyone, Jason couldn't face the shame. Not now. Not after what I knew. But it didn't matter anymore. I wasn't playing the villain in their tragedy. I was simply gone. Later that night, I looked at the stars through the open window. No tears came. Just wind. Just freedom. Let them wonder. Let them suffer. Let them beg. Because from now on, I wasn't going to be anyone's pawn. I was ready to become something else entirely. 1 week passed. The headlines shifted from corporate mergers to celebrity gossip. No one cared about Jason Law's sob story. No one even knew it yet. But I did. And I was no longer afraid of the silence that came with knowing. I moved into a temporary apartment, modern, minimal, anonymous. The only photo I kept was one of me and Anna from college. Everything else belonged to a life I had burned to the ground. Jason tried to freeze the accounts. I was prepared. My lawyer filed a motion before his even showed up in court. The stocks had already been sold, the assets split and distributed under the prenup he never bothered to read again. The accounts he thought were in his name were actually in my maiden name, shielded by a trust I had set up 2 years ago, back when I first sensed something was wrong. He underestimated me. Everyone did. Rachel, meanwhile, was imploding. Anna forwarded me a clip from her Instagram live. Rachel was crying, again, talking about how she was betrayed, how some women are too selfish to understand sisterhood. Sisterhood? I closed the video and laughed out loud for the first time in weeks. Later, Anna texted. Jason's at it again. Just sent a bouquet to your old address with a handwritten letter. Want to see it? No. Burn it. Already did. With pleasure. I spent my days rebuilding. Quietly, strategically. I reached out to investors I'd once advised under Jason's firm. They thought I was just a supportive wife. They didn't know I'd been the brain behind half their profits. When I explained who really analyzed the numbers, drew the trends, made the bold calls, they listened. One of them, Mr. Beckett, an old hedge fund player, asked me plainly over coffee. Why should I bet on you now, Ms. Gordon? I didn't flinch. Because I've got nothing left to lose. And because I'm the reason Jason Law ever had a name worth remembering. He studied me for a long moment. Then nodded. I'll give you 6 months. Prove it. It was all I needed. I registered a company that afternoon. Gordon Equity. My name. My rules. That night, I stood by the window of my new office space, just a tiny rented corner suite for now, and looked out over the city. It was the same skyline Jason once called ours. Now it was mine alone. Anna brought takeout and a bottle of champagne. To fresh starts, she toasted. I clinked my glass against hers. To revenge done right. Meanwhile, Jason was unraveling. He sent me an email at 3:17 a.m. Nina, please. I never meant for things to go this far. Can't we talk? Just once. Just us. I didn't respond. 2 days later, I received a letter from Rachel's lawyer. She was suing me for intentional emotional distress. She claimed I had ruined her chance at motherhood and conspired to manipulate Jason. The audacity nearly made me choke on my coffee. I forwarded it to Anna with a single message. Time to go public. We arranged a leak. 1 article. 1 anonymous source. Whistleblower reveals egg switch scandal behind the Law Gordon family feud. I didn't even have to name names. The internet did the rest. Screenshots. Gossip threads. Old photos of Jason and Rachel holding hands at charity events while I stood in the background, smiling like a fool. Within hours, Jason's firm was trending, for all the wrong reasons. By the next morning, the board had issued a statement. Jason Law had been placed on administrative leave pending internal review. Anna burst into my office laughing. You didn't even break a sweat. I sipped my tea calmly. Why would I? I'm just getting started. That night, Jason called again. This time he left a voicemail. Nina, you win. I'm sorry. I didn't want to lose you. I never thought you'd leave like this. Please. Can we just start over? I miss you. I miss us. I stared at the phone. Then I deleted the message. I didn't miss us. There never was an us. Just me. Just them. And now. Just the truth. And the truth was. I had died the day I walked into that lounge on my wedding day. But the woman who rose from those ashes? She was someone they would never see coming. The news cycle devoured Jason Law's scandal like a ravenous beast. Blogs, forums, finance gossip sites, everyone was talking. Not about me. But about him. About her. Rachel Gordon, the golden child who tried to steal a baby and still managed to cry about it online. Jason Law, the charming CEO whose empire had been quietly built on a bed of lies and someone else's brilliance. Me. I didn't grant interviews. I didn't comment. Silence had always been my greatest weapon, and now it was my shield. Meanwhile, the board at Jason's firm moved quickly. They appointed a new interim CEO. Jason was suspended pending investigation. The company's valuation dropped by 12% in 2 days. Clients pulled out. Investors demanded answers. And I simply watched. From my new office, from the shadows, from the quiet strength of someone who no longer needed to scream to be heard. One morning, Anna burst in, a tabloid in hand. The headline read, Mistress or Sister? The baby Rachel Gordon was never meant to raise. I didn't even blink. I didn't leak this, she said quickly. But someone out there is connecting the dots. Let them, I murmured. Truth doesn't need my permission to come out. The best part? I had kept all the evidence, medical records, IVF logs, audio clips Jason never knew I recorded, a notarized timeline. My lawyer had it all sealed, just in case they ever tried to spin it back on me. I was prepared. Rachel, however, was not. She made the mistake of going live again, trying to play victim, rambling about how she was tricked and wasn't ready to carry a baby. She sobbed about how Jason had promised her the child would be theirs, and how I stole everything from her. But this time, the audience wasn't sympathetic. You wanted her baby. Now you want her life too? You two belong together, behind bars. We've seen the receipts. Sit down, Rachel. She shut off the live mid-breakdown. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I simply moved on. My company, Gordon Equity, began attracting serious attention. Mr. Beckett introduced me to his network of retired investors, quiet titans who no longer wanted to manage their own portfolios, but were happy to let a ruthless phoenix, as one called me, do it for them. I delivered. Fast. Within a month, I closed 3 major contracts. One of them? A multi-million-dollar renewable energy startup that Jason's firm had rejected, based on my initial research he never bothered to read. Poetic. One evening, as I was reviewing quarterly projections, I got a call. Unknown number. I answered on instinct. Hello? A pause. Then a woman's voice, fragile, familiar. Nina. It's Mom. I didn't speak. I know I have no right, she continued, voice trembling. But your father's in the hospital. Heart attack. Stress, they said. He's asking for you. I stayed silent. He wants to apologize. We both do. We were wrong. About everything. My nails tapped lightly against the edge of the desk. You handed me to Rachel like property, I said finally. You sold me for silence and reputation. And now you want me back? A choked sob. We didn't know. You knew, Mom. You knew what she was. You saw Jason lie. And you chose convenience. I'm sorry. I sighed. You'll get better, I said coldly. With or without me. Then I hung up. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I wrote a letter instead. To my unborn child. Greater than you were loved. You were wanted. But you were never safe. So I let you go, so they could never touch you. Not with their greed. Not with their poison. Forgive me for being strong when I should have been soft. But I promise you, your sacrifice won't be in vain. I will build something out of this. Something honest. Something beautiful. I sealed the letter and placed it in a locked box with the hospital bracelet I'd worn that day. A reminder. Of pain. Of power. Of choice. By the end of the week, Jason tried one last move. A public statement. Half confession, half manipulation. I lost the love of my life because I made one mistake. Nina, if you're listening, I'll wait forever. I still believe in us. The media ate it up. But I knew better. Jason Law didn't miss me. He missed control. And the next time he tried to play that card, I would burn the whole deck. The following week, I received a formal invitation. Cream envelope. Gold trim. Embossed letters. The Gordon Family Charity Gala, honoring our shared legacy. I nearly laughed. Legacy? They had tried to erase mine. Now they wanted to celebrate it? Inside the envelope was a handwritten note from my mother. Greater than you're still our daughter. Please attend. Rachel will be there. So will Jason. It's time to forgive. Let's put this family back together. Back together? They really thought I would wear a gown, smile for photos, and pretend they hadn't tried to steal my body, my baby, and my dignity? But then, something inside me clicked. Fine. Let's put the family back together. Piece by broken piece, so they could see what they'd destroyed. I arrived precisely 15 minutes late. Fashionably late. Just long enough to be noticed. The ballroom at the Marriott was decorated in soft golds and ivory. Crystal chandeliers shimmered overhead. A string quartet played something elegant in the corner. Familiar faces turned toward me. Some gasped. Some whispered. I wore a black satin gown. Sharp neckline. Hair slicked back. No jewelry except a single silver ring on my left hand, my mother's. Not Rachel's. Not stolen. Mine. Jason was by the champagne fountain when he saw me. His face paled. He looked as if he'd seen a ghost. Rachel's expression twisted with panic. I could see her lips form the words. Why is she here? Exactly, Rachel. Why am I here? People approached me cautiously. An old aunt tried to hug me. Nina, you look stunning. We've missed you. Have you? I said, smiling. She blinked and walked away. I moved through the crowd like smoke, untouchable, unapologetic. People parted for me without even realizing it. Jason finally worked up the courage to approach. You came. I turned to him slowly. Didn't you say you'd wait forever? He looked like he wanted to smile, but thought better of it. Can we talk? Somewhere quiet? I sipped my champagne. No. Nina, please. I'm not here for closure, I cut in, voice calm but sharp. I'm here to watch you squirm in the ruins of everything you built on top of me. His jaw clenched. You're angry. No, I said softly. I'm powerful. There's a difference. Then came the main event. My father took the stage. His voice shook more than I remembered. We gather here not just for charity, but for unity. For family. For healing. Healing? He continued, and so, I want to invite both of my daughters to join me here on stage. Rachel, Nina. A hush fell over the crowd. Rachel stood and walked proudly toward the stage. She wore white, symbolic, perhaps. She smiled at the audience as though she hadn't tried to take my child and replace me in my own life. I stayed seated. My father cleared his throat. Nina? I met his gaze. Then stood, slowly. Every eye followed me. I climbed the steps and stood beside Rachel. She smelled like roses and desperation. My father smiled, relieved. Here they are. Our family. Together again. I took the microphone. Together again? I repeated, eyes scanning the crowd. I suppose that's true. My father. Who traded me for silence? My mother. Who comforted the wrong daughter? My sister. Who plotted to take what wasn't hers? And Jason. Who lied until he drowned in it? Murmurs rippled through the room. I kept going. You want unity? You want legacy? Here's mine. I was the woman behind the empire. I built Jason's career. I protected my family's reputation. I endured the betrayal in silence. And I walked away with everything they tried to take. I looked straight at Jason. You said you'd wait forever, remember? Good. Wait. I'm not coming back. I handed the microphone to my father and stepped off the stage. Stunned silence followed me. Outside, the air was cool. Anna was waiting by the car. You done? She asked. For now, I said. But deep down, I knew. The final move hadn't been played yet. The days after the gala were quiet, publicly. Privately? Chaos reigned. The speech had gone viral. Someone had recorded it, of course they had. It only took one clip uploaded to TikTok for everything to spiral. Greater than she walked on stage and exposed her whole family without blinking. This woman's a legend. Rachel's face when she said I walked away with everything, I felt that. Comments flooded in, sympathy, admiration. Disgust, mostly for them. Within 48 hours, Jason's firm lost its biggest investor. Rachel locked all her social media accounts. And my parents? Well, my mother showed up at my office uninvited. She was thinner than I remembered. Her makeup was heavier, but it couldn't hide the pleading in her eyes. Nina, we need to talk. I didn't invite her in. I just stood in the doorway. About what? The part where you handed my life to Rachel because it was more convenient for you? She flinched. We made mistakes. No. You made a decision. Over and over. And I've made mine. Her voice dropped. You're punishing us. I'm letting you live with your choices, I said flatly. That's not punishment. That's consequence. Before she could say anything else, Anna appeared behind me. We're in a meeting, she said politely but firmly. You'll have to go. My mother looked at me one last time. You'll regret it, Nina. Family doesn't come back once it's gone. I held her gaze. That's the point. That afternoon, Jason tried again. An email. A long one. Greater than I never stopped loving you. You're the strongest woman I've ever known. I made mistakes, but I was afraid. I didn't know how to choose between the past and the future. Let me make it right. I replied with 2 words, too late. He didn't write again. But Rachel did. A formal letter. Through her lawyer. She was threatening to sue me for emotional damages caused by public defamation. Anna read it out loud while laughing. She really thinks she can cry her way into sympathy after this mess? She's desperate, I said. Let her dig. So we responded. A single-page reply with attached medical records, audio logs, and a notarized IVF contract that listed my name, not hers. By the end of the week, Rachel dropped the lawsuit. But her misery didn't end there. A scandal broke at the PR firm she just joined. Turns out, several clients pulled their accounts after realizing she was the infamous baby sister. She was asked to take an extended leave. Jason, meanwhile, tried to launch a redemption podcast. He lasted 3 episodes before the backlash forced him offline. Sponsors pulled out. The board formally removed him. He'd burned every bridge trying to control the fire. And I? I stayed quiet. Gordon Equity doubled its portfolio within 2 months. New clients came in weekly, women, mostly, professionals, executives, divorcees. Women who had been silenced, overlooked, or betrayed. They said the same thing. Greater than I saw your speech. I want to invest with someone like you. I didn't advertise. I didn't pitch. I just kept building. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was living in someone else's house. Someone else's name. Someone else's shadow. I was becoming the woman I used to pretend I already was. One night, Anna and I shared wine in my new penthouse. She raised a glass. To the woman who burned quietly while they danced, and then lit the whole damn ballroom on fire. I smiled. To rebuilding. With iron and silence. We clinked glasses. And outside, the city lights flickered, like stars made of glass and steel. They once thought I was fragile. They forgot some things break, just to cut deeper when they come back. 6 months later, I attended a conference in Singapore. It was the International Women in Finance Summit. Normally, I avoided the spotlight. But this time, I was invited, not as someone's wife, not as the woman behind the man, but as CEO Nina Gordon, founder of Gordon Equity. I walked onto the stage in a crisp white suit. No script. No apologies. Just truth. My story isn't unique, I began. What makes it dangerous is that it stayed hidden for too long. People confuse silence with weakness. I let them think I was soft so they'd never see me coming. Applause broke midway through the keynote. Standing ovation at the end. Afterward, a young woman approached me backstage, tears in her eyes. I left my husband last month, she whispered, after watching your speech from the gala. I hugged her. No words were needed. Every day, more women came, clients, survivors, fighters. They wanted someone who understood not just finance, but falling, and standing up again without shame. I gave them that. Back home, the dust had finally settled on Jason and Rachel. Or so I thought. One morning, Anna called. You're not going to believe this, she said, sending me a screenshot. Jason was getting married. To Rachel. No press. No guests. Just a quiet courthouse affair and a single post on Rachel's lockdown Instagram. A blurry photo of their hands and 2 rings. The caption read, "Through everything, we found our way back." I stared at the screen. There was no pain. No rage. Just an odd sense of completion. It was poetic, in a way. The two of them, joined by lies, bound by desperation, finally making it official. They deserved each other. And I was done competing in a game I had already won. I didn't share the post. I didn't comment. I simply walked to my desk, signed off on a new real estate acquisition, and transferred the profits from my latest hedge fund launch to a scholarship fund for young women in finance. Let Rachel post filtered photos. I was building legacies. 2 weeks later, I received a message from an unknown number. Greater than you probably won't read this, but I wanted to say thank you. Not for what you did to me, but for what you made me become. Rachel and I. We're trying. I hope you find peace someday. Jason. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I blocked the number. Peace? Peace wasn't something I was waiting to find. Peace was something I had created, on my terms. I stood alone on the balcony that night. City lights below me. My reflection in the glass wasn't the woman from a year ago. That woman was betrayed, heartbroken, lost. This woman? Unshakable. I pressed play on the voice memo I'd saved but never used, Rachel's confession, shaky and scared, detailing how Jason had planned everything and begged her to go along with it. I didn't need it anymore. My war was over. I deleted the file. A symbolic ending. The next morning, I walked into a board meeting. All eyes turned to me. Men in suits, women in tailored blazers, analysts from 3 continents. I took my seat at the head of the table. No introductions needed. No name tags. Everyone knew who I was now. Nina, said one of the senior partners, before we begin, I just want to say, your rise has been extraordinary. I smiled. Gentlemen, ladies, I said. Let's not talk about how I rose. Let's talk about how we rise together. And with that, we began. Autumn arrived with a sharp wind and sharper headlines. An exposé dropped, anonymous sources, leaked memos, and a buried investigation that had been quietly shelved during Jason's tenure. It revealed how internal audits were falsified, performance reports manipulated, and unethical trades greenlit under pressure. And though Jason was no longer CEO, his name was all over the documents. I hadn't lifted a finger. The past had finally come knocking on his door all by itself. Jason's attempt at a second act failed overnight. The podcast shut down. The startup he tried to launch with borrowed money never secured funding. Even Rachel's image rehab campaign tanked when someone uncovered fake reviews and purchased followers. Together, they had become a brand of quiet disgrace. And yet, I didn't celebrate. I observed. Because real power doesn't scream. It watches. It learns. It waits. One morning, I received a letter, not an email, not a text. A real letter. The envelope was thin and expensive. No return address. Inside was a simple sheet of cream stationery, folded once. Greater than I'm sorry. Rachel. I stared at the paper. One sentence. No explanation. No excuses. Just that. It could have been sincere. Or it could have been her last-ditch effort at salvaging something. But I didn't need to decode it. I burned the letter in the sink and turned on the tap. Watched the ashes swirl down the drain like every word she'd ever said to me. The holidays approached, and my parents tried one last time. A call from an unknown number. My father's voice on the other end, raspy and unfamiliar. Your mother's not well, he said. She's been declining. She keeps asking for you. Silence. Just, come home, Nina. For her. I considered it. For all of 3 seconds. Then I said calmly, you stopped being my home the moment you gave it to someone else. I hung up. That night, I took out the last photo I had of us all together. Me, my parents, Rachel, and Jason. Taken a week before the wedding that never happened. Everyone was smiling. Except me. I shredded it and tossed the pieces into the fireplace. This was the final cut. Anna and I celebrated the new year in Paris. She surprised me with a trip, a penthouse suite, and champagne that cost more than my first car. To the woman who wrote her own ending, she toasted. I raised my glass. To the one who stayed by her side. We laughed, and for the first time in over a year, I felt light again. Not because I'd won, but because I'd let go. Not just of them, but of who I had to become to survive them. Back in the States, Gordon Equity was named fastest rising private investment firm of the year. I declined the award ceremony. I sent my team instead, every woman who helped build it with me. They stood proudly on stage, holding the trophy together. I watched the live stream in my office, smiling. I didn't need the spotlight anymore. I was the light now. And as the camera panned across my team, diverse, powerful, brilliant, I knew this was just the beginning. My legacy would never be about revenge. It would be about rebirth. Spring returned quietly, as if the world had taken a deep breath after surviving the storm. Gordon Equity expanded into Europe that quarter. We opened offices in Berlin and Madrid. I didn't attend the ribbon cuttings. I sent the next generation of women I'd mentored, the ones who once doubted their voices, now leading boardrooms with the steadiness of giants. My name was on the doors, but they were the reason the doors stayed open. One morning, I received a call from a woman named Claire Hastings. She was the editor-in-chief of Forbes Women. We want to feature you, she said. But not just for your financial success. For everything you represent. I hesitated. I had avoided cameras, interviews, and brand deals. I didn't want to be famous. But I realized, this wasn't about fame. It was about truth. And maybe, finally, I was ready to tell it on my own terms. The photo shoot took place in a sunlit atrium with floor-to-ceiling windows. No filters. No glamour. Just me, in a navy pantsuit, no jewelry, hair tied back. The headline. Nina Gordon, the empire she built after the betrayal. In the interview, I answered everything. How I found out about the egg switch. Why I went through with the pregnancy termination. How I started my firm from nothing. How I no longer speak to a single blood relative. And when the interviewer asked, if you could say one thing to the Nina from that wedding day, what would it be? I smiled. Don't look back. The article went viral. But something more unexpected happened. I began receiving letters. Hundreds of them. From women in law, medicine, politics, academia, strangers, survivors, sisters. Each with the same message. Greater than your story made me walk away from what was killing me. I chose myself because you did. You didn't just build a company. You built a mirror where we could finally see ourselves. I cried reading them. Not from pain, but from knowing I hadn't just burned the bridge behind me. I'd lit the way forward for others. Jason never recovered. Last I heard, he moved to a smaller city, trying to start over. But his name was now a cautionary tale in business schools. Rachel vanished from public life. Her LinkedIn says she's exploring new opportunities. Whatever that means. As for my parents? They never called again. And I never needed them to. I created a foundation 6 months later. The Phoenix Fund, designed to support women rebuilding after betrayal, divorce, and financial abuse. We funded shelters, offered legal aid, and provided seed money for startups led by survivors. In the first year, we helped over 300 women take their first step toward freedom. That was the legacy I wanted. Not revenge. Redemption. Not destruction. Reconstruction. One evening, I returned to the private clinic where it all began. Where I made the decision that changed everything. I left a bouquet of white tulips at the entrance with a note tucked inside. Greater than to the girl who chose herself. I'm proud of you. No signature. Because she already knew who it was from. As the sun dipped behind the skyline, I stood in the glass tower bearing my name. Nina Gordon. Not Jason's wife. Not Rachel's sister. Not anyone's shadow. Just me. And for the first time in my life, that was more than enough.